Hello, my name is Hyvelle Ferguson-Davis, the founder of Heart Sisters, an organization that's bringing awareness, especially to women of color, about the disparities. I survived a stroke, a heart attack, a quadruple bypass, and I want to make sure that women know that they too can live despite a disability or prognosis to thrive. And you're tuned in to According to Portia.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Portia Monique, and today we're joined by Hyvelle Ferguson-Davis, an author, stroke and heart attack survivor, and founder of Heart Sisters, who's on a mission to save lives by empowering Black women to take control of their health. Welcome to the show, Hyvelle.
I am grateful to be here, and thank you for having me on, Portia.
Absolutely. So I am excited to be talking to you in May. This is Stroke Awareness Month, and so we definitely want to bring everyone your story of strength, triumph, and survival. But if you will, take us back to that moment where your symptoms first appeared. What were you feeling? How did the initial misdiagnosis, because you were misdiagnosed originally, what the misdiagnosis was, and then let's talk also about your access to urgent care.
Yes, I'll start back on February, I think it was 29, 2014. I was at work, a typical day, and I talk about it in reference to I was talking to, a few coworkers, and I didn't feel right. I had a headache. And the numbers, because I was doing some numbers and it was just fuzzy to me. So I told my boss, I'm like, oh, let's start over tomorrow. So I decided to go home because it wasn't making sense to me. And on the way home, I didn't know how I made it home because it was like I had an intense headache. And I went home and I went to bed automatically. And I woke up at 3 o'clock and my daughter came home and she woke me up. And I'm used to mom mode. So I jumped up. It's time to cook dinner, try to get her off, how her day was going. She has to get my son, get ready for soccer practice, and make sure dinner was ready. So I'm doing so much. And we're in a dinner table. We're actually in the kitchen cooking. And as she says, she didn't understand what I was saying. I'm there cooking, and she had to know how to call my sister. Mom does not sound right. And so my sister told her to call the ambulance.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm cooking still, trying to get
in your mind, right? And you're communicating with her, and she's just not understanding. You're like, what's wrong, right?
And so the EMS came. I think my blood pressure was 250. My blood pressure was 250 over 190 something. And so they triaged me, and I'm like, oh, you need to go to the hospital. And you know what I did? I didn't go. I turned them away. I had a test to take. I crammed the whole night prior to. I had to cook dinner. My son had a soccer game. I had to cook dinner. And going to the hospital was not really part of my schedule. And I was always so used to schedule doing this and doing that just to catch up. And I told them to go away. I actually finished the meal and I went to bed. It was not until my husband came home, I woke up because I had to now go to school. I started to feel my foot go limp. And I'm like, and I started putting on my clothes. And my husband's like, no, you're going to the doctor. We fought tooth and nail as he took me in his car to the emergency room. And I got there and the nurse came in, and the triage nurse, she says, possible stroke. And my life got quiet. They didn't understand what was happening. They rushed in, the doctors, and I'm there silent. And at this point, my hands, I didn't even realize the symptoms of it because cognitively, I didn't understand what was going on around me. I had a headache and it was just blurry. I was like a outside of my body kind of thing. A lot of stuff going on. I didn't understand it. I remember being in hospital, and all I did was focus on that light that was in the ceiling. I didn't know what was going on. I actually finished my meal amidst having a stroke. So they went ahead, they did a triage, they called my family, and they did a few tests, and they did not immediately catch it. They thought it was a TIA, which is like a mini stroke or something like that. And they were going to release me. And my sister came in at the point, she's like, no, she's not right. At this point, my face, if you notice, I still have that, my face drooped. My hands started to curl in, and I couldn't really talk. And she was there like, no, you're not going to dismiss her. You're not letting her out of this hospital. And they were actually going to call the cops to get her out of there. And she made enough noise that they knew if I was going to leave, that they would not hear the end of it. So they went ahead and they did the next test, which is a CT scan with contrast, I believe. And then they caught it. So I was diagnosed with an ischemic stroke at 41 years old. And my life got quiet. I was then sent over to, they did some treatment and I was sent to a rehab. And you think, I get so emotional, you think about a rehab as a place of elderly people going to. Here I am, 41, in the prime of my life, couldn't do anything for myself. I had to rely on speech therapy, physical therapy, and the basic stuff that we take for granted. I was not in control. I was like in a fog, and it was like a stranger, didn't understand. And I came home 30 days later to a world and a person I did not recognize. Didn't have the use of my limbs. I had to walk with a walker at this point. And, you know, the basic stuff, combing your hair, going to the bathroom. I had no control. I had my daughter and my husband and had a 5-year-old son at that point. And my daughter was about to go to college because she's getting prepared all this time in March. And she had to take care of the basic needs for me. And I just sat down and it was like a vacuum. I was reaching for words, didn't come out. I was crying out for help. And I didn't because I couldn't.
That breaks my heart. And I know that's not just your story. I hear myself, I hear my circle of friends, my various circle of friends. And it's just so unfortunate that we as Black women have to feel like we are super women. We can do it all. We have to continue. We can't take a break. Even when diagnosis like, stroke is at the forefront, but we don't know. But even when they tell us to go to the doctor, we have to be strong because we got so much going on. And we ignore it because we are the caretakers. We are the ones that take care of our family, and we have to get things done. I'm so grateful that your husband was there with you. I'm so grateful that your sister advocated for you. I'm so grateful that you had a family support system to help you through that. I'm so grateful that you're still here with us today to share your story. And I know it's difficult. And from the moment that you really started sharing your story, it made me emotional because this is real.
That's something that, this is why it's so urgent. I talk about how, we are the superwoman, like you said, and, during the entire time, I didn't even think about myself. It was, well, what's best for my family? What's best for my son? With my daughter, I was like, no, you cannot put down what you need to do to take care of me. So it was I never actually put myself first until I understood it. I had no choice but to show up for myself.
Oh, you are teaching a valuable lesson, Hyvelle. Thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us just a glimpse of what your life is like, both before the stroke and now, in your recovery. Let's talk about some of the signs that were there, right? Let's talk specifically about the signs that the medical system failed to connect, right? Because when you initially went in, they told you go to the hospital. You was like, I can't, I'm too busy. I got too much stuff. Nobody else can handle it. But then your sister came and advocated for you. And that's when they found they did the CT scan with the color contrast. How can those warning signs be better recognized, specifically when it comes to the medical system, especially in women of color? What were the signs that they failed to connect?
This is what I'm so adamant about, especially in our community. There is such neglect and disparities when it comes to that. And so instead of complaining about the issue, I decided to be a voice for it. No one's coming to our rescue. So we have to get together and be accountable for ourselves and our actions. And I talk about the fact that I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes, I think about 7 years prior to it. And my A1C was 12.5. And tell you the truth, I went to the hospital and there were days that I didn't have insurance. So there were days that my treatment was just to go to the ER when I had a back pain, which is an issue because that's a red flag. And so I was diagnosed go into the ER because I was so much in pain, relieve me. And so I had major back pain. I was diagnosed with sciatic nerve at 30 something years old, diabetes, hypertension. And so I'm going to the ER saying I'm in pain. I have back pain. I have irritable stuff that's going. This was a year and a half prior to the stroke. So I'm going there seeking treatment. It's like, okay, we're going to give you some shots in your back. They're going to give me some pills to relieve the pain. And the worst experience was to go into pain management because I'm like, I'm in pain. How do I deal with this? And they treat you like a junkie. And I'm like, I need help because I'm in pain. They never did an EKG, never did a stress test. And heart disease or stroke in women occurs differently. And the warning signs were there, knowing that what I know now, the fact of a simple EKG would have mitigate even after the stroke. I had the heart attack 30 days after the stroke, and it was missed. Going to the doctors, being diagnosed and saying, Doc, I'm in pain. Oh, it's probably in your head. Go see us, just relax. And not go in the extra mile to run a test or to go in deeper to say what's really wrong. And so, I had to take personal accountability first and foremost and look at ways that the medical field fails me. And as a contributing factor of everything, the silent treatment does not work. And that's a major issue. The back pain, the lethargicness, the fact of a stroke, the headache, the arm, the drooping of the face. I had actually 2 TIAs prior to me having the stroke. And so the warning signs were there if they looked into history. Even my mother was diabetic. My father went blind. And so if you look at the family history and you look at the trajectory of where it's headed, they could have done more. And honestly, I could have done more also, but I didn't know. That's the issue.
So let's talk about the importance of your sister's advocacy, because that's really important when it comes to the disparity of the health system. But having someone else there to advocate for you and with you on your behalf is so crucial. And for whatever reason, it's either we as a community don't know that or they just don't tell us, right? And so your sister really saved your life because she was very adamant that they keep you, continue to test. She made the noise, like you said. What does that moment teach us about the importance of making sure that we have a health advocate with us at all times, no matter how big or small the appointment or whatever it is that you're going in for? What does that teach us about the importance of having that health advocate?
What I stress to people is that once you're sick, the entire family suffers. It's not one person. Your family suffer, your children suffer, your husband or your spouse don't even know what to do. And I think about the women who are single, that just have children, have no relationship with anybody that are going to be there for them. And it's crucial that you have someone show up. And that's why I started an organization, to be a voice for the voiceless, to say that we see you, we hear you. And your complaints, your irritations, they do matter. And sadly enough that we just take it, we go home, and then, we die or we just carry on. So we stress that caregivers, they have such a role to play, and they're so profound in the lives, because at one point I could not talk for myself, nor represent or show up for myself. So it's a key component to everything, especially well-being. And for those who don't have the care team, seek support, make noise, because your life matters. One heart attack, one stroke is one too many. We have to show up for ourselves and be there for our children.
Absolutely. Now I want to, before we get into some of the health disparities and your LDL, cholesterol awareness, heart health risk, and all of that, I want to talk about specifically, I just want to reiterate, you alluded to it earlier when you said you had a stroke and a heart attack, but that was actually in a matter of weeks, like you said, like 30 days later. Go ahead.
Yeah, my situation is complex. When I say it's complex, I had a stroke, then I had a heart attack, then I had quadruple bypass. I had a second heart attack. And today I have 10 stents inside of me, keeping me alive. And I was actually just diagnosed a few months ago with little a, which is a component to cholesterol levels that we had no idea. So the journey has spanned over 10 years now. And looking back, everything failed. And knowing the journey as far as where I started. And, I'm fortunate enough to be alive. I know that for a fact. Because a lot of people don't go through what I've been through and come out of it to actually say, and you don't even see it. If you look at people, look at me and they don't see it. But the road has been treacherous. And that's why I advocate, because we can mitigate once we know what to do. If we know how to do it, we look at the warning signs and we clean it up by community, inviting a conversation with care team to understand that medication, especially in our community, it's vital that we treat it, not a diet. It's a lifestyle, encompassing everything, a holistic approach of understanding who you are and you're valuable.
You are a very strong woman. We can see that you have the drive, the resilience, the determination, the will. How do you continue to find the strength to push through?
My one why is I want to live. I want to, my son is graduating next in 3 weeks. My daughter's about to be engaged too. I want to be there for them. And we deserve that. In our community, we're discarded or marginalized. No, we are valued. I need to place a value on our lives to tell people that we're here. We're not going to take no for an answer. So this here, everything that I do, it's very personal.
Well, you got me crying. You deserve to live. You deserve to see your children flourish. You deserve to see your children succeed. And so that is a very strong why. And that's why he's still here. Let's help some people, right? So when it comes to your LDLC awareness and all of that, many people, particularly Black women, aren't aware of what LDL-C is or why it matters. Can you explain how it affected your health and why we must prioritize cholesterol screenings?
It's important that we know our cholesterol, even the benchmarks of what is a good cholesterol. You don't have to get into the jargon of medical terms. Know what the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol is. In my case, I had a really bad cholesterol and I took some medication and little lifestyle changes. And as I started my road down to heart disease and stroke, I'm doing everything. I'm eating right. I'm doing everything needed to live, knowing carbohydrates and everything that add to cholesterol levels, the meats, the fried foods. So I'm really conscious. And so, and through the journey of 10 years, and I had a second heart attack that truly just shook me because I'm doing everything possible to live. I'm listening to my doctor, I'm taking my medication, and there was one certain medication I took that didn't work with me because it gave me a lot of pain. And I told the doctor, let's try something else. And I'm being really upfront with my doctors. Actually, I treat my doctors and my care team as everything because it's not only me. I want them to see me as a patient that cares about, so I ask questions. And when I don't even know the answers, or can't articulate, I have my recorder and I ask my doctor, can I record this? Because I need to know, I need to live. And so that's personal accountability. And so as I started knowing cholesterol levels, I'm doing everything. And the cholesterol level was okay, but it wasn't where it needed to be. And after my second heart attack, and I tell the story of how I was fighting for a certain prescription. And after the second heart attack, I think it was like about 6 months later, I was not feeling well. Now I know the signs of how I felt. I was having aches and going up the stairs was an issue. And I told my doctor, I think I need to come in. So he did a workup and they say they found a blockage. This is 6 months after the second heart attack. And I'm like, what's this all about? Back to the cath lab. They went ahead and they put the device in me and they found 4 more blockage. And I told the doctor after, I'm like, no. I say, this is impossible. I cannot catch a break. I've lost 85 pounds. I'm eating like a rabbit. I'm doing yoga. I'm trying to live and do everything that I can mitigate because I know there's a lot of variables around, but the equation is I'm doing everything possible. Help me make sense of this. Help me live. Because if I keep coming to this hospital having to do this and that, at one point I'm never going to leave. And so I'm like, I'm not leaving until I get a definitive answer of what's going on, what's causing these blockage. And so they went ahead and they were like, I said, I'm not leaving. My sister's right there. I had my entire family actually
For
in
you.
the waiting room praying for me. They're like, who is this person in there with that
Right.
entire family praying? I'm like, I am not leaving. My
Right.
sister came in. I'm in ICU at this point because I'm on certain medications, blood thinner, and they had to do an emergency surgery. And so they went ahead and they brought in the vials, about 15 vials, and they took some tests. And about 2 hours later, the doctor came in and he said that I had a protein. It's called little a.
What is it
And
called?
a little
Okay.
a protein.
Mhm.
And this here is a genetic issue that causes my cholesterol level to be, I guess, higher or sticky. I'm not sure of the medical jargon, but it's something that I could not outrun. I could not out-medicate. But now we finally knew the enemy that I was dealing with. And it was an enemy within. It was a genetic component
Mhm.
that I wasn't able to, or the doctors didn't catch it. And it was one test that confirmed this. And now the doctors are being really aggressive. I'm taking a certain medication that is working so well. My bad cholesterol needed to be, it was actually 180. Little a was, I think, 275. And now my cholesterol level, my bad cholesterol is at 41
Wow, that's a
in the space
drastic
of
one.
8 months. And we know that cholesterol levels, if it's high, it leads to heart disease, heart attacks, and stroke.
Mhm.
And finally, I feel like I have the upper hand knowing what I'm facing, knowing that I have a diagnosis. And now my doctors are being more aggressive with the treatment. And finally, 10 years into this journey, even with lifestyle mitigations, medical intervention, I feel better knowing that I'm fighting smart and we have a plan.
That's so great to hear. It's heartwarming to know that you are on the plan to wellness and you are making sure that you know what your numbers are. That's so important as well. If you will, when it comes to good cholesterol versus bad cholesterol, what are the normal ranges? And I'm only asking because I'm sure you've gone through it. I know you're not an MD, but from
Mhm.
your personal experience, what can you recall about those good and bad levels? What's a normal range?
Well, I know the bad cholesterol needs to be, well, the cholesterol needs to be under 100 or 199, but in
Mhm.
my case, it's different. But I just urge everyone to, my chart is simple. You can get your lab work, you can get your blood work to note the changes in those, to examine those, to see where you are. So my
Mhm.
benchmark is to make sure that my bad cholesterol is
Mhm.
under 42. Now, for certain people, they may say different things like under 100, but it's your personal care team, your doctors evaluate that to make that decision. But
Mhm.
just be aware, if it's 200, please address it. Talk to your doctors. Make sure that you're on a regimen. Make
Yeah.
sure you're eating, but talk to your doctors about medication. Medication and the treatment has changed drastically. And so, with lifestyle and proper adherence to medication in our community, and I have to talk about it because it's so important. We think that if we're diagnosed with something, that we can pray and God is going to heal it. Or we can go to church and he's going to, herbal medication would work. But know that God created medication and advancement of technology to live. And
Mhm.
I get that a lot of people says, oh, I have this, I'm praying for it. God is going to fix it. God is waiting for you because he's created a miracle. And that's
Mhm.
you to walk in it, to understand, to open the communication with your care team, not only with God, but invite the doctors in,
Yeah.
know what you're dealing with, and understand the urgency. It's just a diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's not a prognosis. And you can thrive beyond a diagnosis.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I know we have to move on to some of the other topics, but is there one last word that you want to make sure that our community, especially Black women, know about your situation and preventative care?
The urgency starts today. You don't get to live life over, but you can thrive beyond a diagnosis. It's so important to start that initial conversation, create a team, get with loved ones and create community
Mhm.
because you too deserve to live and
Mhm.
thrive.
Thank you so much for that. Now let's talk about the organization that you founded, Heart Sisters. It was born obviously from your trauma. What does the organization mean to you personally, and what impact has it had thus far?
As I started navigating the healthcare field and
Mhm.
understood how I was dealt with or felt of the disappointment. And once I found out that heart disease and strokes are 89% preventive, I knew I
Mhm.
had to save her. So I started doing the work internally within me, looking at the corner stores, all the sodas, the rich, the fatty stuff, the salty stuff, the sugar stuff. And I started saying, hey, this is a major disconnect. It's not right. And so I started looking internally at me and then, my sisters, that's why Heart Sisters. We go to the family picnic and we eat the same ribs and all this other stuff and we have a good time. But do we have the communication that's serious enough to actually help our environment? And a lot of stuff, it's not generational curses. It's behavior patterns that need to be adapted and broken so that systematic change can happen in a generation. So reframing the way we do stuff is so important. And so that's the birth of Heart Sisters. So I started to look at my life and understood that I was lacking and I wouldn't want another person, especially one that lives in my zip code that looks like me, who feels neglected, who feels dismissed, who feel like their concerns are not valid, to go through what I've been through. So I created a community of women to empower them to not only seek help from without, but do the work necessary within. As women, we are the caretaker. We are the nucleus. We make everything run. And if we're not here, everything does not work. So we isolate that woman to say, you're valued, not even with your accolades and your degrees. No, the person, she needs you to show up.
Yeah.
And so, we, from, point of exercise and looking at food in a different way, retraining that mind and mental capacity of looking at social determinants, financial burdens, not even having a care team. How do we go about getting medication or even insurance? So it's a silo thing that we're doing as far as addressing everything at one point. And it's a bold mission. We take on a lot and we're a small group, but I feel like if I inspire one person to look at themselves, to rethink what they're doing, it's not working, to tap your sister and says, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
Because we're so quick to build up a force field because we're tough. And we put on our lipstick and our makeup and inside at night, we can't even sleep. And we look in the mirror and the person that we see, we don't even recognize. And that needs to be broken. That's why we exist.
Yes. And in my opinion, I see another reason why you continue to go full force. Heart Sisters, making sure that you are being impactful, making sure that you're helping the next sister. It's simply in you to just go full force, no matter what it is. Nothing is going to defeat you. And so we know that, we see that, we understand that, and we appreciate that. How do we find more information about Heart Sisters?
Yes. You can visit our page at Heart Sisters. That's www.heart. That's HEARTSISTAS on all social media channels. Also, we never arrive. It's a journey. I'm still living with heart disease. I have my bad days. I have my good days, but every day is an opportunity to pour into someone else. It's a blessing for me. I urge you to come along with your talents, with your gifts, and be part of this movement. It's so needed for such a time as this.
And you are a blessing to us. I'm sure you're blessing thousands of women right now with your testimony and your story and just sharing hope, because it is there, it does exist. Now, lastly, I want to talk to you about your documentary that's coming out. You're going to be featured in The Making of a Heart Attack. What made you decide to share your story on camera on a national playing field? And what do you hope audiences take away from it?
Yes. What I want to say first is Amgen has done something completely different. We think about a heart attack and we don't go deeper. And this movie just bridges so much. It's bringing women and men from all different areas to truly just go deeper, to know the story behind. And I talk about a statistic as a cry from a grave. This movie opens up so that you can see the vulnerable parts, so you can see the intimacy of exactly what happens when a person has a heart attack. And how do you get out of it? And how do you come out of it and be, okay to thrive and live beyond? So this movie is so pivotal. It's actual patients or people who have survived. And I'm so happy that I was the only person that had a stroke. So they're looking at all the multi-layers of what goes on in a person that's surviving and thriving beyond an incident. So this movie, I think, is going to rattle up a lot. It's going to bring people in, because heart disease is no respect of persons, no gender, no age, no restrictions. We all are living silently if we're not addressing certain issues. So I am grateful for this movie and Amgen and every participant, but moreover, the call of action so that people can see themselves, to know the signs, know the warning, to know, even as I look at my castmates and we look at the stories of what happened the day of, we look at what happened before, the burden, from the women, the men, from different ethnic groups. And it just brings our story cohesively together, knowing that we are in this. And the fact that we can eradicate to a certain extent a lot of stuff that's going on, this movie is powerful. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
How do we watch? When does it come out? Is it already out? What platforms? Give us all of the details.
I want every community to show up. This is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be June 14th. It's on the A&E channel. And like I said, I want everyone to tune in. Not only tune in, get people together. Have a little, a cookout. So that after the movie, the communication can really begin. If you're dealing with comorbidities, hypertension, diabetes, in my case, my mom had it, like I said, we never talked about it. I didn't even know what it was until I was actually almost died because of it. So this movie is going to open up so much communication, but also it leaves you with the fact of there is triumph. There is life to be lived after a heart attack.
Whew, you have blessed my soul today. Thank you so much for your courage. Thank you so much for your advocacy. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for your voice. We appreciate you so much. Your story is absolutely going to save some lives. And thank you so much for reminding us to listen to our bodies and fight for our health. Get you an advocate in the doctor's room with you. Make sure that you are advocating for yourself like you did. You say, I'm not leaving until you find out what that is, because I want to live and I have children to live for, and I have things to do. I have women to help. I have communities to help. So you're going to figure this out. So thank you so much.
It's personal. It's personal. I'm fighting for me. Yes.
Thank you so much, Hyvelle. How do we keep in touch with you? How do we continue to look at your journey, follow your journey, contact you if necessary?
Yes, you can reach me. Like I said, the website is www.heartsistas. That's HEARTSISTAS. And my email address is Hyvelle. That's HYVELLE at heartsistas. Again, HEARTSISTAS.com and all social media platforms. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you and your journey. Take care.